This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to look at the Samsung Galaxy Tab 2 7.0. A lot of numbers, a lot of words in there, but this is basically Samsung's latest, greatest, most affordable Android tablet yet. It's a 7-inch tablet, and it comes with Android OS 4.0, and that's Ice Cream Sandwich, 8 gigs of storage, and a dual-core CPU. But how does it stack up to Samsung's other tablets? We're going to find out. The Samsung Galaxy Tab 2 line of tablets, as you might guess, are their second-generation tablets, and they're the lower-end tablets from Samsung. We'll see the Samsung Galaxy Tab 10.1 Note, which will have a pen, and some other high-end ones, but this guy right here sells for only $249, so it's trying to compete basically with the Kindle and the Nook as affordable Android tablets. Of course, this one's a full tablet. It runs Android OS 4.03 Ice Cream Sandwich, the latest and greatest version of Android OS, with full access to the market and all that kind of stuff, versus the Kindle Fire and the Nook, which have gingerbread on them, older versions of Android, and they don't have access to the Google Market, Google Play Store that is, unless you want to do things like root them or tweak them and things like that. So for those of you who want really to get all the stuff that a tablet does, and you're not really into rooting and all that kind of stuff and sideloading applications, for $50 more than the Kindle, this is a pretty good deal. Just like any other Android full tablet, you've got dual cameras. You have a front-facing video chat camera that's just a basic one, VGA resolution, and on the back we have a 3 megapixel. It's not really very high resolution, but you know, Samsung does pretty well with their lower megapixel rating cameras, and it takes fairly pleasing photos. And since it's 7 inches, it's a little bit more maneuverable if you want to take photos versus those 10-inch tablets. It has a GPS with GLONASS built in, and yes, it works. Even if Wi-Fi is turned off, we can get satellites, we can get a fix. Since it's a Wi-Fi only tablet, though, you're going to need a smartphone with a mobile hotspot feature, a MiFi, or you're going to have to preload map data if you want to use this as a GPS on the go. Tablet has a gig of RAM, and it has 8 gigs of storage. Not all that's available to you. That's not a lot of storage, but thankfully we have a micro SD card slot. Samsung used to be allergic to those, but now we're seeing them in all of their tablets, and we'll take a look around and show you where that is. So here's your micro SD card slot. There's a little door covering it. You just yank it open with your fingernail, stick your card right in there. So you can expand that storage, thankfully, because again, you know, 8 gigs with around 6 or so available, 5.69 I believe it is not really very much internal storage. You have your 3.5 millimeter stereo headphone combo mic jack right here. There is a built-in microphone for those of you who want to do Skype, VoIP type video chat things. Here's your power button, and this is your volume rocker right here. And this is the IR blaster window. This has an AV remote so you can control your TV and home theater gear. And like other recent Samsung tablets, it comes with an application called Peel that's very what's on TV centric, shall we say. It walks you through setting up your AV gear, your cable box, your stereo, and your TV. That's it for components. Just enough so you can turn on all that stuff and make sure that you're switched to the correct inputs to watch TV, and then it shows you all sorts of suggested things that you should watch, depending on what cable provider you have, and you select that too. Back view here, your basic silver plastic, kind of curvy guy on the back, feels nice in the hand, weighs about 3/4 of a pound, fairly light, certainly lighter than the first generation Samsung Galaxy Tab, which was just called the Tab at that point because they didn't have any other sizes. So as I hold it sideways, you can see it's got a nice curve to it. It's pretty comfortable to hold as a result. This darker border is a little bit more slippery. This back is not too slippery. Down here we have the usual Samsung proprietary dock connector that works also not just with the chargers included in the box and USB cable, but with Samsung accessories like the keyboard docks and HDMI adapters, that kind of thing. And here's our stereo speakers, little guys, right here. And now we're comparing it to the original Galaxy Tab here. This was the Sprint version, plasticky white back, and a bit thicker with straighter sides, as you can see. Otherwise, about the same basic footprint overall. And both of them have 7-inch PLS displays. That's a technology that Samsung uses, sort of like IPS. Pretty good on color saturation. And they both run at 1024 by 600 for resolution, which is less than the Samsung Galaxy Tab 7.7, which is Samsung's highest end 7-inch device, and that one has full 1280 by 800 resolution. And now we have the Samsung here, and this is the Kindle Fire here, 7-inch tablet from Amazon. Of course, about the same footprint. They're both 7-inch devices. Both have the same display resolution, 1024 by 600. And the Samsung is a little bit lighter. And you can see the difference that Kindle is pretty much a straight-sided, basic black device. Samsung goes for a little bit more curvy style. And the Kindle has that soft touch, grippy back. Now the last tablet in Samsung's 7-inch lineup is the Samsung Galaxy Tab 7 Plus that we reviewed back in November. That one costs $399, and for the extra money you get a faster CPU and more storage. The displays are the same on both. They both have that 1024 by 600 PLS display and basically the same shell. This is about 1/2 of 1 millimeter thicker, which isn't much to say, and they weigh about the same. You don't get the brushed metal, faux brushed metal plastic back on this guy, but either way, you're looking at plastic anyway. So as we mentioned, this runs Android OS 4, that's Ice Cream Sandwich, and it has Samsung TouchWiz on it. So they've customized the user interface. One of the things they've added right here is a little screenshot button right there. I'm not sure that all of us really want to grab screenshots constantly, but it's nice to have. And they've done some stuff with the look and feel. We've got their little customized area over here, which is actually pretty handy. You can control your wireless radios, get to all settings, control your brightness right here on this slider, and get your battery information, your Wi-Fi connection. And if we go into settings, you can see they've customized the look. Yeah, with Android, usually it's your basic black and white kind of interface, or black and green. So here they've kind of made big fonts that they like to do. And here, if we look at display, you can see they've customized it. You can choose not just your font size, which is standard for ICS, but also your font style. Samsung likes to give you a whole bunch of playful handwritten style fonts there. In this case, they've only got these three loaded, which is your default, and one that's a handwritten style font in Helvetica S, but you can also hit the web for some more fonts right there. And other than that, you're looking at pretty much the standard selection of things that you would see on an ICS tablet, just with the UI lightened up a little bit. The icons are pretty much your traditional icons, and one thing they stuck with that is standard for ICS is you've got your separation right here between apps and your widgets. And here's our available widgets. We've got that clock weather thing going on, analog clock, and pretty much the rest of this is a lot of standard Google stuff that you get with Android. And we've got a couple of custom Samsung ones, like their keys for Wi-Fi sync, their media player, and some other stuff, which you can see in action right here. This is their usual cluster they put on tablets. We've got the music control right here, we've got the weather, we've got Yahoo News, and we've got a shortcut to Media Hub, which is where you can go ahead and rent or buy Samsung provided movies. There's a lot of Samsung custom software on here. You can see we've got the Readers Hub, the Music Hub, the Games Hub. They're trying to probably compete, I would say, with Amazon to a certain extent, a little bit also Apple there by having all sorts of stuff you can do with the tablet when you first turn it on. Now the challenge is, of course, Amazon has a big app store, a big bookstore, their Prime movie streaming service, and with Samsung, well, they're trying, but I'm not sure that their Music Hub and their video store are really great selling points, but it gives you a little bit of a directed experience if you're kind of new to tablets. So, for example, here's their Music Hub, and here's all sorts of stuff that you can buy if you want to. And there it is. If you look at that album, you can see all the tracks, and you can choose to buy them if you wish. Now, Readers Hub isn't Samsung provided content. In this case, it's what they've been doing for a while. We've got press display for newspapers, Zinio for magazines. Zinio is a great experience. I still personally prefer it more on a 10-inch tablet because it really gives you a magazine page layout, just like you would see in print, and that is really more well suited for, well, about a 10-inch screen. But for those of you with pretty good eyes, you've got it on your 7-inch tablet here. And then we've got books by Kobo. And we've got other book reading solutions, since 7-inch tablets are often popular for that kind of thing. We've got Kindle pre-installed on here as well, and Google Play Books is here. And we'll see how that looks. Here's our facing pages view, and here's our portrait view, because you probably more likely would want to read like that, and it looks just fine. It's a pretty nice screen on it, so it's nice for reading. Competes fairly well with Amazon's IPS display. Page turns are just fine. Illustrations work. And in addition to the Google Play Store, which is the new name for the Android market, where you download all your applications, we've got Samsung's own App Store too. Now, pretty much all this stuff is stuff that you're going to find anyway on the Google Play Store, so I'm not sure why, but if you want to sign up, you can do this. And there's free apps on here, just like Evernote's free on the Google Play Store. It's free here, and you've got your Angry Birds and other things you just can't live without available. And for things you can do with video, to start with, Netflix is preloaded, works just fine on the tablet. You've got Videos, which is the Google Video Store, and you've got Samsung's Media Hub, as I mentioned, for that too, and you've got the usual built-in video player from Samsung, as well as the standard gallery application that comes with Android. Other Samsung apps include their all-shared DLNA, that's for wirelessly streaming stuff over your Wi-Fi network. We've got their memo application here, which is, as you might guess, a nice little memo application. And that's what it looks like, and you can use the on-screen keyboard or a Bluetooth keyboard to enter notes there. And we also have their S Planner on board. And here's S Planner, which is like a prettier version of your standard calendar. You got day, week, agenda views, month, year, all that kind of stuff. So it's just kind of a little bit of a calendar on steroids, and it'll pick up whatever you've synced from your Google Calendar onto this. Since it's a full Android tablet, you can sync your Google Contacts, your Google Calendar, all that good stuff. Unlike the Nook and the Kindle, where you got to do some hacking if you actually want to sync to your Google account for your PIM applications. And we've got the standard Android web browser on board, and you can download Adobe Flash to see Flash videos. And while we're here entering our URL, you can see the standard on-screen keyboard that you get with the tablet, which is pretty capable. Has handy shortcuts like a .com right there and some winky faces. And here we've loaded our own website using the standard web browser. And we've got good scrolling speeds here without any of that checkerboarding for slow, sometimes you see with slow loading or rendering. We have a pretty fast Wi-Fi network here that helps, but speeds are good, pinch zooming works very fluidly, Flash ads are not bogging it down, and we'll check out Adobe Flash. First I'm going to tell you, this has a 1 GHz dual-core CPU. Samsung is not saying what that CPU is, and none of my little CPU checker utilities and benchmark apps are telling me what CPU is in here. So is it a Tegra 2? I think not, because it's running a little too fast for the old Tegra 2. I think it's probably a TI OMAP dual-core, which is the same thing you're going to find in the Kindle and the Nook as well. This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is one of the more exciting phones. So here it goes, it's playing just fine. We're both very nice phones. That plays just fine. Unfortunately, the player controls are not real responsive. That makes me go back to well, maybe it is a Tegra 2, because this kind of reminds me of the first Tegra 2 dual-core phones that we saw, where the player controls were always a little bit less than responsive, but there's that. Now we'll check out video playback. We have two HD videos here, one's 720p, one's 1080p. We're going to try that 1080p high-profile video first and see how it plays. Now obviously you're just going to play on screen. That's more resolution than you need, but if you're going to output via HDMI, if you can find Samsung's little adapter to do that, then it would be worth your while to try 1080p content.
We're talking about huge potential for millions of people. Our therapy enables
the little speakers get pretty loud.
Itself. We call it the cure. I want you to start testing on chimps ASAP.
So 1080p plays just fine. MPEG-4, locally stored video, good times. And again, you can use Netflix, the YouTube player, all that kind of stuff too, if you want to get some more streaming content on the device, as well as locally stored content. And as we mentioned, this has an IR blaster, so you can control your home theater gear using the Peel application that's built in. And right here you can see it's very focused on showing you kind of like the highlights of what's on. So this is the starred stuff means what they think is particularly hot, and you can switch to sports or movies. And there's your time grid, so you can go forward and back. Not your traditional TV listing kind of thing, and here's where you control your gear. Once you've set it up, it walks you through doing that. You can turn them all on, all off, add new device. Personally, I would prefer something with a basic grid. It has more utility, though it might not be as pretty as this, but that's what Peel is like. In terms of benchmark speeds, well, it benchmarks pretty much like you'd expect a 1 GHz dual-core, not cutting-edge tablet. Quadrant, it did 2705, which makes it, well, pretty decent for a phone, and at the lower end of the current crop of tablets, but still pretty doable. On 2.2 was 4841. And for GL benchmark Egypt off-screen test, we got 28 FIPS. Now to compare that to the top-of-the-line Galaxy Tab 7.7, that had a quadrant of 3545, so we're talking about 700 points higher. On Tutu was 7050, 200 points higher. So there's definitely some improvement to be seen if you spend more on a tablet, but obviously this one gets the basics done. It can play games just fine. I did notice some pausing occasionally when playing some HD kind of games like Shadowgun. Does Angry Birds just fine. And even with the games where it did pause, it would pick right back up. It just kind of honestly, it would just stop for a second, and then it would just continue to play just fine. So overall, I suppose it's not really a problem. It's just a little odd, a little glitch there, and maybe Samsung will even have an update downloadable to fix that. The tablet has a 4,000 milliamp battery, which is pretty typical of Samsung's 7-inch tablets again, and it's good for about 7 hours of runtime with Wi-Fi on, and the screen set to 60% brightness or so, so it's pretty good stamina there. If you're reading books with the light set pretty low and you turn Wi-Fi off, you probably get even more, and if you're playing music with the screen off, you'll get lots more. So that's the Samsung Galaxy Tab 2 7.0, Samsung's most affordable 7-inch tablet, and it's only $249. If you're just looking to get your first Android tablet, you know you want a 7-inch because it's more portable, you like to read ebooks on it, that kind of thing. But you want to do more than the Kindle and Nook offer without having to hack and root and all that kind of thing. Well, it certainly is a good choice if you don't want to spend too much money. You're much better off getting this than some of the no-name Android devices you'll see at some retailers, those Kobe's and things like that. Definitely higher quality parts here, very nice capacitive screen, reasonably good performance. At least you're getting a dual-core CPU. Some of the cheaper ones still have a single-core CPU. Yikes. Now, if you're willing to spend a bit more money and you're not really into the dedicated kind of, I want to consume Amazon products like you get with the Kindle or Nook products, that kind of thing, you're looking at your first Android tablet and you're okay with spending some more money. In terms of speed, this guy it's not a slug or anything like that, but it's not super duper fast. And if you're looking to play today's 3D games and all that kind of stuff, get better responsiveness in Adobe Flash playback controls, I would probably say get the 7 Plus. And now that guy is $399, but you do get more storage and you get the faster CPU in there. Finally, there is the Samsung Galaxy Tab 7.7 here in the United States. That's offered with Verizon LTE. It's not sold as a Wi-Fi only model. So that one comes potentially with a contract in tow that you can buy without contract, but that's considerably more money you're spending. But that one you get a really high resolution, beautiful display, very fast performance. Well, it costs a lot more because you do get more performance, better display, all that kind of stuff, and excellent battery life. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. This is a Samsung Galaxy Tab 2 7.0. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.